I am, oh, great. Um, I'm unsure if the chat is open, but if it is, could everyone share where they're calling or where they're coming in from? I always like to see what parts people are coming from. All right. So, hi everyone. Thank you, moderator, for letting us know that. So, I am Dr. Morgan Russell Stokes. I am the Dean of Student Equity and Inclusion and Director of the Student Center for Equity and Inclusion. And today, Jake and I are here to chat a little bit about some of the transition programs that exist at the University of Richmond. Um, Jake, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself before I go into some of the other programs?
Sure. My name is Jake Ryman. I'm the manager of outdoor adventure and leadership with the University Recreation Department.
Thanks, Jake. So in my capacity, I work with an amazing team of people that lead what is called Thrive Orientation. So Thrive Orientation is a multicultural transition program. It is geared towards students that identify as multicultural. Somebody has requested closed captioning, wanted to make sure that was turned on. Okay, sorry, I paused. All right, sorry, I paused there. But Thrive Orientation is geared towards multicultural students. And so what does that mean, right? This allows our students of color to come early alongside other transition programs to focus on building community. Students that have participated in Thrive kind of share that they have indeed been able to build community from some of the activities that we put together. So in the Student Center for Equity and Inclusion, we have a multicultural programs team, and they plan Thrive along with our orientation advisors. And so some of the special things about Thrive, one of them is that the sessions for our program are geared towards what it means to be a multicultural student at the University of Richmond. Students will participate in panels led by orientation advisors. They will participate in a session called What's Up at UR that really digs deeper into what does it mean to be a person of color at the University of Richmond. How do you navigate that? How are you empowered in that identity and the ways that they intersect? We have workshops around resources specifically geared towards this group of students to help them flourish here at UR. And then we are also creating within Thrive ways for students to build community. So whether it be discussion-based programs or an excursion that we take to encourage multicultural students to get to know one another before they go into new student orientation, which can be a little bit intimidating because you are now going into a larger class of people. Coming early also gives you a chance to kind of see the campus and navigate it before others arrive. And for some students, they have shared that that gives them a little bit more sense of security and confidence as they enter into new student orientation. So what I am going to do is share the NSO webpage for Thrive, sorry. And Thrive orientation, kind of like I've shared, is considered an experience. That is because we are looking at the whole student, right? So not only are we looking at students around their multicultural identity, but we also focus on topics like well-being. How are you managing your time? How are you finding resources that help you grow as an individual, all while understanding that this is an identity that you do have. And this picture here is when we took our orientation students to ice skating. So as far as the schedule goes for the program, this is tentative, but we want students to fully participate in all the things, multicultural students to fully participate in all the things that Thrive has to offer. One of the things that is new this year is that students participating in Endeavor or roadmap. And some students participating in international orientation will also have the opportunity to participate in Thrive. That will look a little bit limited in the number of workshops that you are able to attend, but it also allows you, once again, to kind of prioritize some of the other identities that you hold as a student of color newly navigating this space. One of my favorite events for Thrive is our kickoff. And it is my favorite because if you participate fully in the program, you will receive a Thrive special. And we call them a special because they are just that. They are there to create a special relationship, a special mentor relationship with the first year student that they have been matched with. It's amazing because then they stay with that student the entire first year. Which is great because it allows them to have someone to go to with questions. This is an upper class student that is a multicultural identifying student, and so it helps them navigate the campus a little bit better. They share some of their own lived experiences and tips and advice. And once again, that's another added piece of support as a multicultural student coming into a new environment and understanding what that means for them. A lot of the Thrive kickoff is also centered in getting to know each other, because we do have a lot of tough conversations around identity, around building the community that you want to see and how you find community here, because we know that building community takes effort. And so a lot of Thrive is also skill building, right? And so when we go into some of the things that we focus on, we talk about building healthy relationships in college, decoding the professor, right? How do you get to know your professor, understand expectations? How are you managing your time and navigating new commitments? Because we know that with our students being able to advocate for the time and negotiate their participation may look new to them, especially as you are exposed to so many different options on how to participate. What's Up at UR is really amazing, because once again, that is a orientation advisor led program, and it is a panel of multicultural orientation advisors that are upper class students, and they kind of get into the real about what's going on at the University of Richmond. We purposefully do not have administrators present. Also, we trust our OAs, and they are highly trained to facilitate a tough discussion as that. But we are not there because it allows our students to speak a little bit more freely, and be vulnerable in what they decide to share. Once again, like I said, Thrive is geared towards focusing on the whole person. And so we talk about the health and well-being of multicultural students, and our health director will come and share some insight on what it means to build a support system that centers your well-being. Our identity table talks is more of an affinity space that allows us to see within community and across community, and really, once again, building that skill of what does it mean to create the community you want to see. And then, of course, UR's Got Talent is always my favorite, and has become a favorite, one of the favorites of the many social programs that happen throughout the transition days before NSO. And then, of course, we always wrap up. And so if you are looking at this schedule, you will see this is a lot, but it is on purpose, right? Because we are trying to fit in a bunch of topics. And the best part about this is Thrive is a part of a multi-staged program that supports multicultural students. And so you can participate in Thrive during a transition program and then go into Thrive Community, which is geared towards all students across all multicultural students across all classes. And they have a chance to come together twice a month to talk more about topics centering multicultural identities, making friends, finding in a smaller setting, which is also really great. There are some skill building and resource connecting pieces in there as well. And students can participate in Thrive Community, multicultural students can participate in Thrive Community without having to participate in Thrive Orientation, which is amazing because we want to continue to find ways to help students build community with each other. So, you know, our schedule is informed by our orientation advisors and our orientation leaders. And so we lean heavily on our multicultural students that help us plan this program to build a program that they also want to see and would continue to be engaged in as well. I've shared some of the workshops. I have shared some of the peer mentorship pieces, and so I do want to come across some of the frequently asked questions. Can anyone participate in Thrive orientation? In short, the Thrive experience is specifically designed for multicultural students. So those are students that self-identify as a person of color. Who are multicultural students. And so at the University of Richmond, that's any student, domestic or international, with one or more identities that are categorized as a minority in the United States in terms of their race, ethnicity, citizenship, immigration status, and or country of origin. And so that's a lot of big words, but what does that mean? That means that this program centers the lived experiences and is created with a lens of multicultural needs and support. Is there an application for Thrive orientation? There is not an application, or a selection process, but there is a registration form because we want to make sure that we're preparing for the number of students that are interested in participating. So any student that registers for Thrive orientation that is multicultural will be able to participate. Now that does come with some caveats, and I'll get to that at the end of the FAQ. Can I participate in another transition program? The short answer is yes. However, if you are selected to participate in the Appalachian Trail Adventure program, you are not able to participate in other transition programs. And that is because they're not, and Jake will go a little bit more into what students should expect into that program, but because it is primarily away, students aren't able, during the transition time, students aren't able to participate in Appalachian Trail and the other transition programs. However, if you are in Endeavor and if you are in international orientation, we have done a really amazing job at working our schedule so that multicultural students across those other two programs can also participate and thrive. So for students that are multicultural and they're like, I really want to participate in Endeavor because, you know, I want to prioritize my academics, but community is also important to me. You do have an avenue to participate in both, which is really great. And then what are the registration deadlines? And so we have a priority registration deadline that is June 1st. And then we also have a regular registration deadline that is July 1. Now, what do you get with the priority registration? So you'll get more time to connect with your special. The sooner you the sooner you register, you will fill out another form that helps us match you with your special because we go beyond race, ethnicity, representation when matching student with their special. We're looking at their interests. What are their passions? One of the fun questions on there is, if you were a potato, how would you like to be prepared? So questions like that kind of get at who you are as a person, and that allows us to properly match you with your special for Thrive. And so those are some of the things that come with Thrive orientation and priority registration. Within the schedule for Thrive, parents of students that participate in Thrive, there will be an opportunity to have a meeting via Zoom the week prior to arriving for the program. And this allows parents to ask questions about Thrive, about the schedule, about navigating UR, understanding they have a multicultural student. This also serves as a hangout for parents to dialogue with each other. Maybe if they've had a multicultural student go through college before and have tips and advice to share with other parents that may have not, and this is their first time having a student attend college. And so that is an hour. It includes other folks within the Student Center for Equity and Inclusion Planning team that leads Thrive, but it's a really fruitful event for parents. And it centers the questions or the concerns that they may have. I'm gonna stop sharing. Perfect. So in a nutshell, Thrive is intended to be a place of affirmation for multicultural students. Now, that does not mean that if a multicultural student does not participate in Thrive, they will not be affirmed, because they will. We are just working with students that may prioritize the identity pieces that come along with being a student in any learning environment. And sometimes having a better understanding of who you are when you're coming into a new place is very important as you start something that is completely new and being a part of some of the really amazing changes in your journey, like becoming a first-year student at a university. So I am going to stop talking. We will take questions about all of the transition programs that we discussed tonight at the end of Jake's presentation. Jake, I will turn it over to you.
All right, hi, everyone's doing very well. Thank you so much, Morgan, for explaining a bit about your program. I learned a lot. I'm in charge of the pre-orientation program, Appalachian Trail Adventure. It's an exciting way to get outside of the campus, kind of for that first introduction. I'll briefly kind of go over where we're going, what we're doing, why it's an exciting opportunity, and kind of what you can expect. This is my second year running it. So last year we did it, had a great time, got rained out most of it, but otherwise people seem to like it. So essentially, like Morgan said, you can't do it with the other programs because it does take place primarily off campus. It's broken into two sections. The first section being a challenge course activity on our Richmond challenge course. That first night, that's Sunday. Then moving into the next day is where we actually do our Appalachian Trail Adventure. We will be going to South Shenandoah, hiking about 8 miles a day each day, and then camping at the night of Monday in a large campground for all of us. We have about 40 spots available for this trip, so we've actually doubled capacity from last year. And as far as like why it's a really cool opportunity, as the outdoors person and as the outdoors manager for the university, I really find that these outdoor opportunities, specifically in locations where people haven't been, for that first introductory experience in pre-orientation, is a really good way to start building bonds with students immediately. So starting to make those friends for the first time, bonding over a shared experience, and then really getting the opportunity to know and meet some of our orientation assistants who are students at the university who can help you kind of engage in that way. I don't really have too much of like a long spiel to go over. I'm much better with the Q&A thing. So, but as far as things like skill level, it's very basic. The skill level we're attacking is not attacking. The skill level we're going with is very basic. No backpacking or outdoors experience is really required. We're at, like I said, we're open to all skill levels. Yep. And I think I've gone over everything, the schedule. Like I said, it's really quick and really brief as far as my spiel, but I'm very open to Q&A with anyone interested in anything. Anyone who wants to get more information can go to, if I can share screen, I can actually show you the site. Let me see. Oh, wait, nope. Okay, it's not letting me share the screen, but they can go to recreation.richmond.edu. Let me see the chat. I can answer any questions there. Sure. So as far as day-to-day activities, So that first day, which is Sunday, is going to be a challenge course experience. So you have the opportunity to move in on Sunday, interact with us. If you've rented gear or asked for gear on our application, we can get all that to you. Then we meet at 5 o'clock. We do the challenge course, come in the next day. And after that, you get to spend your first night in the residence hall. Then we'll meet again on Monday morning. Then we'll go to the Appalachian Trail, which is about 2 hours away. We'll go to camp, set up our campground, and then following that, we'll do about an 8-mile hike through one of the looped trails in Shenandoah. We'll have lunch on that trail, after which we'll return to camp. We'll do activities, do those bonding games, get to know each other a bit more, really get people interested, or really get people re-engaged with that process. Then the next morning we'll go to bed, we'll wake up, we'll do another 8-mile hike on a different section of the trail. We'll also go to a pretty cool summit in Shenandoah. Yep, and then we'll return to campus that evening, and then you'll be able to get some sleep, take a shower, do everything, and then be ready to join the rest of the orientation programs the next day. Responding to the other questions I'm seeing for bringing gear, things like tents, sleeping bags, sleeping pads, if you have them, you can bring them. If you do not have that gear, that's not a problem. We can provide it. When you fill out the application, there will be an option to fill out a gear request, and we can get you things like sleeping bags, sleeping pads, water bottles, lanterns, anything like that. Things like clothes or anything you need personally in that regard, you would need to supply for yourself. All right. As for when people will be notified when they've been selected, we'll be doing, I believe, like a rolling applications throughout June, and then the applications will be definitely sent out. Everyone, they'll be done by July. Everyone will know by July 1st. That's when we're aiming for it. Let's see, more questions. Do we return to campus prior to moving in? So you move in on the Sunday, and then we go out Monday and Tuesday, and you'll return Tuesday night.
I was gonna say, Jake, could you share if there is a application process? Is there a selection process?
Yes, so there is a selection process, and there's an application process that can be found on the website for the transition programs. It's a pretty simple application. It's only 3 questions, kind of just gauging interest, availability, and like a very, very basic version of skill level, just what your background is. And like I said, skill level is not important. It's open to all, but just out of general curiosity, where you just want to know what people's skill level is. But there is a basic 3 short essay questions for the program.
Question is, does everyone else move into campus while you all are hiking? For all transition programs, so any student that has elected to come early for a transition program, they move in at the same time, which is that Sunday. And then students that are coming to participate in NSO, they move in on that Wednesday. And so as Jake stated, you all will be back on Tuesday. The great part is the room that you move into for a transition program is your room for the year. So you don't have to move again once you are put into your room assignment. It may be that when you show up for your transition program that your roommate did not elect to do that. And so you may, for the first couple of days, have that room to yourself if it ends up panning out that way. But whatever your housing assignment is for the year, that is what it will be for the transition program.
I'm trying to think if there's any more relevant information for ATA. Also, we are aware of dietary restrictions. We will, when you get your application, there will also be an opportunity to put any dietary restrictions, any important information like allergies, and we can accommodate all of those.
Other question here.
Cost, there's no cost to the Appalachian Trail program. as far as parents being able to stay, I believe they can if they want. They can stay in a hotel if they would like, and then do orientation. I'm not entirely sure, but are there other parent orientation opportunities?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there are smaller parent orientation opportunities when students move in on Sunday for transition programs. That Monday is when there will be that Monday morning is when there will be some parents that are here that have moved in that Sunday. If they decide to stay on Monday, there will be a couple of things that happen in the early afternoon for parents, like a meet and greet with the president and some other folks across campus. So parents don't have to stay. It'll just be a little bit more smaller and intimate. Regular move-in is that Wednesday. The date on that is,
Would be the 23rd.
yes, August 23rd.
And then, as I mentioned before, the Appalachian Trail program does not have any additional cost to it.
And no transition program has additional cost to it. So when we talk about going on an excursion, we will pay for students to go to, say, if we decide to go to Dave and Buster's, that will be taken care of. Now, there will be times throughout the transition program for Endeavor, Thrive, and International Orientation to go take a shuttle to a shopping trip. Of course, that is there so that students can get like some of the last minute things that they may need after they've moved in, but that will be at your own cost to shop. But we would take care of the transportation to get there. Is there any other questions? I will say that at the core of our transition programs, they're about building community just in different ways. And so that's what I personally love about transition programs, and I encourage students to participate in any ones that strike their interest, because it is about, at the core of it, really building community and having that small group of folks or group of folks, however the size, that will help you transition when you first get here.
I would definitely agree with that. One of the real benefits is the opportunity to meet with a group of, kind of start developing those bonds with a smaller group before you're kind of thrown into kind of the craziness of the whole university experience. And it also kind of gives you an opportunity to go into that whole crazy university experience of the full student orientation, already knowing some people, already having those bonds kind of starting to be built.
And you know, it's so when Jake, you had said that when we say crazy, you know, any new student orientation you go to is packed full of a bunch of things that we want you to know so you can be fully prepared on your first day of class. Now, you won't know everything, but it's meant to be, you know, the broad brushstrokes or the basics of how to thrive at UR. And some of those nuggets you'll pick up along the way as you actually experience what it means to be a student. But new student orientation is packed full of really informative programs so that you can know what to do, where to go, and some of the safety measures and other things that are put in place for you to be your best self at the University of Richmond. Please continue to ask questions in the chat, I'm sorry, in the Q&A as you have them. I was gonna ask Jake, do you have a favorite moment, maybe from the last Appalachian Trail, that you would like to share?
Sure. So, I mean, some of the really interesting parts were kind of finding it. We had a lot of really interesting weather for that last one. So having the opportunity to find like a really, really awesome little hutch to have lunch in, something that was covered. We found a covered picnic area and wound up meeting like 3 other through hikers who were going through the AT. And through hikers are people that start the hike in Georgia and end it in Maine. So you always run into those sorts of people on Shenandoah on the Appalachian Trail. So the opportunity to kind of have lunch with them and pick their brains was really exciting. the opportunity to all come together for dinner, because the way we did it last year was we split the group into two and they each hiked opposite ways to switch vehicles. So while you only spent the first day, each day with like half the group getting to come together in the evening where we met for our campsite and kind of do that full group bonding and kind of go over each other's experiences for the day. As far as as far as swimming opportunities, I don't believe there will be. I don't know of any really good swimming holes in the section of Shenandoah we'll be in, but as actually there might be. We will be going by a pretty nice waterfall on one of the days. So if you do want to jump in the water there, I would recommend, if that's something you want to do, come with a change of clothes so you're not soaked the rest of the day. But we will be going by a pretty big waterfall that you can definitely take some pictures at, jump in if you'd like. Yeah, as far as other things to do, we're doing a lot of activities at our campsite. We're going to be going to a peak, which has some really good panoramic views. And then we'll be doing our long hikes. I'm actually going down there this weekend to scout and just kind of run through the whole trip just to make sure everything's right.
That's really cool. For Thrive, I would say my favorite moment from Thrive is the talent show. Now that is something that Thrive will host as a program, but it's open to all transition program participants. And it's really a way to bring all of the students together across all the programs and showcase their talent. We've had things from original songs to stand-up comedy to spoken word, but it gives students a chance to show a little bit more of themselves as they get more comfortable being here. And the talent show is always kind of the last evening that we spend together as a transition program. So that's my favorite moment. And then the other one is just, students come and we essentially have 2 full days with them. And so in doing that, even in those 2 days, we see students grow. And those programs are meant to be so packed and so busy so that it kind of accelerates a little bit of that growth that you need just before you get into new student orientation. I'll give one more chance for questions, and then I will provide some nuggets of contact information. All right, it does not look like we have any other additional questions, but should you continue to think of anything, I'm unsure if the chat will go to everyone. But I don't know, moderator, if there is a way for us to share contact information. But if you have questions about Thrive, you can send us an email at scei at richmond.edu. And then Jake, I don't know if you want to share, and that could be questions about the program, about the schedule. We are a little bit early in the summer, and so the Thrive schedule is subject to change as we continue to finalize. And that's why that priority registration is so important, because it gives us a better idea of the number of students that are going to be participating. And so I want to say that will conclude our program. I don't know, Jake, if you want to say your contact information, because I'm unsure if they'll be able to see it.
Sure, I just put it in the chat and it said to host some hands, but in case you can't see it, the two best ways to contact me for any questions about Appalachian Trail Adventure would be emailing outdooradventure@gmail.com or my email, which is jreiman, so JREIMAN @richmond.edu. Those are the two emails I check every day that I can answer questions on.
And so thank you all so much for your time. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions about our program. If you have questions about any other transition programs, how new student orientation will look, please go to the New Spider orientation page to get that information. And more information will be added as time gets closer, which makes this even more exciting. And I'm sure for us, but I'm sure even more exciting for you as you start this new journey here at the University of Richmond. We appreciate you and we look forward to connecting with you in the fall.
Look forward to
Have a
seeing you.
great evening. Bye.
Thank you for taking some time to come do this with us. Thank you.